Hello and welcome to season 2, episode 12 of the Discordancy podcast. So now it is the month of June, which means so many things are going to be celebrated this month. Well, most notably, Pride Month. But that's a story for another time because for this episode, we're going to talk about men's mental health. So, since June is also the month for men's mental health awareness, I figured let's discuss what is going on with men's mental health. Because for me personally, I probably have a mental health problem. I just don't know because we will find out because the results completely reflect my personal thinking about consulting a mental health professional. So apparently, 77% of men uh, polled by like 1,000 people, I think, have suffered with symptoms of common mental health conditions such as anxiety, stress, or depression. 40% of men have never spoken to anyone about their mental health. 29% of those say they are too embarrassed to speak about it, while 20% say there is a negative stigma on the issue. The biggest cause of mental health issues in men's lives are work, their finances, and their health. 40% of men polled said it would take thoughts of suicide or self harm to compel them to get professional help. So, yeah, that is about the same as my personal thinking. Even I am ashamed of consulting a mental health professional because, well, I'm a man and I shouldn't be consulting someone for my mental health problems, even though I absolutely should. And maybe you should. I don't have the capacity or the capability to consult a mental health professional, but you probably do. So, whatever you can do, please go talk to someone and, yeah, just tell them about your mental health problems if you have any. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Uh, the majority of men, or 60%, have shared their feelings about mental health with someone at some point. This leaves as many as 4 in 10 men who won't discuss their mental health with close friends, family, or a medical professional. Alarmingly, the survey highlighted that for 40% of men, it would take thoughts of suicide or self harm to compel them to get professional help. When men do choose to speak up, the results showed that 66% would share their feelings with their partner above anyone else. That is exactly what my thinking is. I really can share my mental health problems to my friends and family because they would think, or I would think that they would think that I have become some sort of a weak man. Here are some other key statistics on men's mental health. 1 in 8 men report experiencing symptoms of mental health problems compared to 1 in 5 women. 35.2% of men think they have had a diagnosable mental health condition at some point in their life. A fifth of men have been diagnosed with a mental health condition confirmed by professionals. Three-quarters of registered suicide deaths in the UK in 2020 were men. 191,000 men a year report stress, depression, or anxiety caused or made worse by work. So, let's take a look at some more. Let's see. Here it is. So this is from the ADAA, or the, what is this? The Anxiety and Depression Association of America. So, for many mental health disorders, men are less likely to speak up and get treatment. They are also less likely to be diagnosed because of this. Knowing the statistics can help raise awareness about men's mental health, encourage men to take a step towards getting treatment, and validate the feelings men with mental health disorders may be experiencing. So, according to Mental Health America, though. Wait, hold on. So, according to Mental Health America, though men account for about 10% of patients with bulimia or anorexia, men with an eating disorder are less likely to seek professional help. Over 6 million men suffer from depression per year, but male depression often gets undiagnosed. More than 3 million men in the US have panic disorder, agoraphobia, or any other phobia. 2.3 million Americans are affected by bipolar disorder, and an equal amount of men and women develop the illness. The age of onset for men is between 16 to 25 years old. One of the leading causes of disability in America is schizophrenia. Approximately 3.5 million people in the US have been diagnosed, and 90% of those who are diagnosed by age 30 are men. So here are some warning signs and symptoms. Men and women can develop most of the same mental disorders and conditions, but may experience different symptoms and different and develop different coping tools. When depression occurs in men, it may be masked by unhealthy coping behavior. Symptoms of mental health disorders in men may look like escapist behavior, such as spending a lot of time at work or on sports. Physical symptoms, such as headaches, digestive problems, and pain. Misuse of alcohol and or drugs. Controlling, violent, or abusive behavior. Anger, irritability, or aggressiveness. Risky behaviors such as reckless driving, noticeable changes in mood, energy level, or appetite, and difficulty concentrating, feeling restless, or on edge. So, both men and women can experience the following symptoms: feel sad, hopeless, or empty, feel extremely tired, have difficulty sleeping or sleep too much, not getting pleasure from activities usually enjoyed, and suicidal thoughts. Although women attempt suicide more often than men do, men are more likely to complete suicide. Well, that's because men use methods that are more likely to cause death, such as guns, may act more impulsively on suicidal thoughts, show fewer warning signs, such as talking about suicide. However, there are effective treatments for mental health disorders. Asking for help may be difficult for men, but going without treatment may only make the situation worse. If you're experiencing any of the symptoms, talk with your doctor or mental health professional. And if you or someone you know is in crisis, get help immediately. You can call 911 or call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. Here are. So, here in the Philippines, there are other crisis hotlines. So, let me just share them all to you. So, there's a new National Center for Mental Health Crisis Hotline. So there's two of them: 0917-899-8727 for USAP, and 989-8727 for USAP as well. This is a 24/7 mental health crisis phone service. So if you are a Filipino and you are struggling with mental health and you do not have a partner, a family member, or a friend to talk to, there's a crisis hotline. So please go just reach out, because this is, you're in a really serious situation. Next is the Natasha Goldborn Foundation at NGF, or Hopeline Philippines. So you can contact 0280444673 for Hope, uh, 0917-558-4673 if you're a Globe subscriber, 0918-873-4673 if you're a Smart subscriber, or 2919 toll free for Globe and TM subscribers. You can also contact Rafa, RAPHA, 0961-718-2655, or email cptcsa.helpline@gmail.com. Accessible from Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's also Manila Lifeline Center, 02-896-9191, or 0917-854-9191. You can also go to Mindcare Club at mindcareclub.com, or Recovery Hub at app.recoveryhub.ph. Mental health for both men and women are really, really serious and should be taken seriously. This should not be some sort of laughing matter. You can joke about it, but you also have to take into account that this problem is real and should not be joked too much, or else you could make the situation even worse. So, let us briefly talk about three men who, if you don't know, actually suffered mental health problems. Let us go first. Let us first talk about Abraham Lincoln. Yes, the former US President Abraham Lincoln. According to letters written by his friends, Lincoln was the most depressed person they'd ever seen, and it seems from research that depression ran in his family. But it wasn't always that way. As a young man, acquaintances remembered him for his sunny disposition. I never saw Mr. Lincoln angry or desponding, said a fellow soldier in the Black Hawk War, but always cheerful. After several personal tragedies, including the death of his sister and a close friend, he started to suffer with bouts of depression. They were sometimes so extreme that friends worried he would take his life. Lincoln was locked up by his friends to prevent derangement or suicide, one villager in New Salem said. In Lincoln's Melancholy, How Depression Challenged a President and Fueled His Greatness, Joshua Wolf Shank shows how the president who led the U.S. through its bloody Civil War managed to turn his suffering into strength. I will now read out a quote from former U.S. President Lincoln. Remember in the depth and even the agony of despondency that very shortly you are to feel well again. Next is Winston Churchill. Churchill spoke very openly about his depression and went through a particular severe period in the years before the First World War. For 2 or 3 years, the light faded from the picture. I did my work, I sat in the House of Commons, but a black depression settled on me, he later told this doctor. According to a recent biography, the legendary British wartime leader found great comfort in creative activities. His creative, depressive personality meant that writing or painting or bricklaying was a way of keeping the black dog of depression at bay. As a result, he produced more words than Shakespeare and Dickens combined, and while now famous for his political leadership, he also became one of the highest paid journalists of his time. But the shadow of depression followed him most of his life. I don't like standing near the edge of a platform when an express train is passing through. I like to stand back and, if possible, get a pillar between me and the train. I don't like to stand by the side of a ship and look down into the water. A second's action would end everything. a few drops of desperation. Now I will read out a quote. My black dog seems quite away from me now. It is such a relief. All the colors come back into the picture. And finally, I think this is the most surprising, Martin Luther King Jr. Despite being one of the most widely researched leaders of modern times, very little is ever written about Martin Luther King Jr.'s experience with depression. As a 1968 Time magazine profile of him notes, he twice attempted to commit suicide before the age of 13 following the death of his grandmother. He suffered several bouts of severe depression, and shortly before he was assassinated, his staff even tried to get him psychiatric treatment, which he turned down. But it was one of the characteristics often found in people who suffer from depression, an extreme form of empathy that drove the civil rights leader to achieve all he did. Addressing a conference of psychologists in 1967, he dismissed their desire to always cure maladjustment. There are some things concerning which we must always be maladjusted if we are to be people of goodwill. Now I will be reading out a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Everybody passionately seeks to be well adjusted, but there are some things in our world to which men of goodwill must be maladjusted. Yeah. So I think I'll be reading out a bonus, uh, a bonus. What do you call this? A bonus story. This is from Princess Diana because it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but we should also be talking about women's mental health because, yeah. So for this last one, let's talk about Princess Diana. After marrying the heir to the British throne, Princess Diana was propelled into the public spotlight. The intense pressure and scrutiny of her new role left her feeling desperate and alone. Although she did not speak about it at the time, she opened up in a 1995 interview with the BBC. I had never had depression in my life, but then when I analyzed it, I could see that the changes I'd made in the last year had all caught up with me, and my body was saying, "We want a rest." Rather than receiving support, her struggles with mental health problems were the source of scorn and amusement in the British press. It gave everybody, a wonderful new label. Diana's unstable and Diana's mentally unbalanced, and unfortunately, that seems to have stuck. The stigma of these labels pushed her further into depression. When no one listens to you, all sorts of things happen. She started to self harm and struggled with bulimia for a number of years. I didn't like myself. I was ashamed because I couldn't cope with the pressures. Yeah, so that's what this podcast episode is about. I'm sorry for the short episodes, but you know, yeah. So I think on Friday you will be able to see another episode, but it's going to be about Pride Month. Just as a bonus episode or something, because these episodes that I've been currently producing are getting really really short. So I do think that is all for now. Please go seek a mental health professional if you are currently struggling with any sort of mental health problem, because this problem is now becoming more rampant than ever. Suicides are going up, depression rates are going up. Like every single kind of mental health problem has been increasing it's just skyrocketed over the last few years. So you are not alone. You are not alone. So that is all for now. Please go seek a mental health professional if you are currently dealing with any mental health problems at the moment. That's it for now. I will see you guys on Friday, June 7th. Goodbye.